On this week's episode, we're joined by Ryan Williams. Ryan is a photographer, husband, and father of 2 kids. Mark, what would we talk about this week?
Well, so we talked about a lot of stuff. We discussed how Ryan discovered his love for photography and the journey he's taken thus far to get where he is today. We talked about growing up and playing baseball at a competitive level, navigating through the sales world, which included stops at Good Life Fitness and 7 years selling dental equipment, the latter being the career he actually just left about a month ago to finally focus on his passion full time. So Sid, sit back as we listen and go through it all.
I was the same old me with the same old blues. I was the same old me with the same old blues. I was the same old me with the same old blues.
Great. And today, for the first time, we have Ryan Williams on the podcast. How are you doing, Ryan?
What's up, guys? How are you?
Well, I'm good.
Feeling good.
Doing great.
Good.
You look good. We gotta say, this is Ryan's first ever time on a podcast, popping that podcast virginity. How's it feel sitting there with the mic in front of you, headphones on?
Honestly, it's crazy because I listened to podcasts for the last, I feel like I've been listening to podcasts for the last 5 or 7 years, right when the turn of podcasts became popular. And I just started listening to all kinds of different stuff. And now to be actually on my first one, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, we should have started recording as soon as you got in the studio. You clearly know how to speak. You said you've done some public speaking before?
Yeah, I did a little bit of public speaking. We can start off with a story right quick.
Why not?
Hey, Ryan, can you tell us a story?
Yeah, you know what? Let's get into let's get into it. Yeah, I did a little bit of public speaking. I've done a little bit of public speaking throughout my life. It's always been something that I feel like has made me nervous or like a little bit scared, but always something that always gives me all the energy and makes me feel amazing after I do it. One of my earliest public speaking memories is probably when I got picked to host the pep rallies at my high school. Ooh. And so myself and another guy, I did it 2 years in a row. I think I did a grade 11 and grade 12. Were picked to host the pep rallies. And my high school wasn't small by any means. I went to Auburn Drive High School.
Shout out Auburn.
Shout out Auburn.
Shout out
What are
Auburn.
they, the
What
Eagles?
up, Eagles?
Yeah.
Yeah. So our high school wasn't small. So I had about 1,200 people in my high school. And so that was my real first introduction to public speaking, getting on the stage and like introducing the sports teams and sort of like being funny and, you know, trying to make jokes.
Can you describe that feeling? Do you remember what it felt like to actually get up there?
It kind of feels like how I feel right now.
Yeah, I can tell there's a shift. Just
that energy.
You got that perspiration.
Got that good energy. But yeah, no, honestly, like the feeling of it was just invigorating. It was something like I never felt before. You know, I don't sing or play any instruments or anything like that. So to be up on stage in front of people, like speaking and doing my thing, always growing up, I beatboxed a little bit. So that was fun. So I just really felt like I just naturally fell back to, you know, the things that sort of made me feel comfortable on stage. And so I started doing some pep rally stuff. And then I emceed a few weddings. A couple, yeah. I was an MC for a couple of weddings, usually with a co-host. I only emceed one wedding by myself. The co-host thing I feel like is always just like my crutch, and then I end up taking over anyway.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Sorry, Mark.
Don't just shut up.
Forgot to tell you.
It's the Sid Show, baby.
So, segue.
Yeah, so I feel like I always end up sort of like, you know, putting myself out there and really getting comfortable behind the mic and just doing my thing. So, yeah, I've done some public speaking a little bit.
Amazing. I remember my first time was grade 9. I had to read an essay or something for the class. The feeling, this like whole tingly sensation. I was like cold all through my middle. My heart was pounding into my head. Also, I didn't know what I was talking about. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't a good student. So I was just
That's the big one, I think, the lack of preparation.
Died. So the journey, and the reason I'm doing podcasts, I started as a guest, is to kind of get over that. I'm slowly trying to build it up because I feel like I would like to be a good storyteller, and getting over that fear, maybe my biggest fear, public speaking.
And that's what they say too. I mean, for me, it was always like something that I knew I could control. Like when I got on stage, like that feeling of like your heart racing and sort of pounding. Listen to me talking like I'm a public speaker now, but I'm not. But you know, it was always something that I felt, and maybe I'll do some more in the future, but it was always something that I felt like I could kind of control. But it's a rush and your heart pounds a little bit. And there was one thing that I was told by a good sales manager that I had. And he said, always know the first thing you're going to say. Always know the first thing that's going to come out of your mouth, and then you can start rolling with that. So when you're public speaking, I did some instructing, and we can get into that sort of thing. But it was always figure out what you're going to say first, and then that's going to get you to where you want to be in your speech.
Well, you started this conversation, your control of the narrative. You started with the speech about public speaking, and now that's what we're talking about. So
There you go.
What I learned going back to that speech I had to make in grade 9, I just wasn't prepared. But right now we're going to talk about you and your life and your business. You probably don't need too much confidence to talk about it. You just know it so well. I feel like when you would know something and it's a part of you, you can just talk about it.
I guess we'll see. I guess we're going to find out. Yeah. No, I mean, like, ultimately, I think preparation is key, but I think you need to go off the cuff a little bit too. And I think that's with life, right? You can only prepare for so many things, and you can only plan one day at a time, and you can only plan one moment at a time. So it's like, why overcomplicate things? And I think that preparation is different than organization, right? Like, you can be an organized person, but you don't have to necessarily plan for everything, right? I think you can keep things in line and keep things in order without necessarily having to have every minute of every day planned.
Exactly. I think it's important to be flexible like that, because we had a former guest talking about, a game plan in a sports game, whatever it may be. In theory, that's going to work 10 times out of 10 because it's perfect. But in reality, it's not, and there's other factors that can come into play. So you've got to be ready for anything.
Definitely.
And if you got that rigid structure, it's going to be disastrous.
Yeah, we have no game plan here. Just so everyone knows, we are going in blind, and I think it's gonna flow really well. Look at it
We're
already.
going to be all right.
I'd say so.
I think we're going to be okay. I mean, I think, honestly, like I say, if you plan, I mean, people say if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And I do think that there is definitely a high level of truth to that. But again, you need to also be able to go with the flow a little bit, be able to figure things out as they come. And like at the end of the day, you can only practice for so. Alan Iverson says, practice. You can only practice for so long, right? So you have to sort of get out there and experience things and do.
Yeah. Do you think you can, at some point, stop planning, but if you have the same vision or goal, that you can still work your life towards it, or do you feel that there should be some sort of structure throughout?
At some point, I think you need to know when you need to take action, right? Like, I don't think you can just go, I'm going to be a millionaire one day, or I'm going to be successful one day. I think that you need to get clear on what your vision is and clear on what your goals are, for sure. I think planning is definitely, a part of your success. But you also need to be able to react and sort of adjust. I was a sports guy growing up my whole life, and one of the biggest things that the coaches always told me is that you have to make adjustments.
Adjustments to the half.
Right? So it's adjustments. It's small adjustments. And to be honest with you, the most successful I've ever been in my life in terms of sports, in terms of pretty much anything, is that it's micro adjustments. It's not just like one big adjustment and then all of a sudden something's going to change. It's micro adjustments. It's something, it's one step at a time. Another great coach told me, if you do all the small things, the big things will take care of themselves. So it's about making adjustments, I think, all of the time. And that's why I say when you plan too much, or you think things are going to happen, or if you have things laid out in front of you and you think they're going to be a certain way, you're going to make 10 or 15 or a million adjustments before you actually do that thing that it is that you want to do, right? Before you actually get to where you want to be, there's going to be a bunch of adjustments from point A to point B.
Days lead to months. Okay, let's start young. So you're from Halifax?
Yeah, so I'm from East Preston, originally. Where I think in Nova Scotia, probably anywhere, but definitely in the Maritimes, I think we're all proud of the specific communities and where we come from.
Westmount.
Yeah, Westmount, right? Like,
Winnipeg.
Yeah,
It's a fucking city.
that's a city.
Oh shoot. Fort Rouge, FRBs.
And thus proving our point of Atlantic Canadians care about the communities in which they come from. So I think that when I lived away, and I'll tell you about that in a second, but I lived away, and I feel like I always said I was just from Halifax because it was easier, but when I'm in Nova Scotia specifically, I'm always like, people are like, where are you from? And I'm like, East Preston, right? So I always make sure that I tell people that. So anyway, I'm from East Preston, born and raised, started playing baseball when I was really young. I played all kinds of sports, but baseball was one of the things that sort of took me on the path, one of the most direct paths in my life. Started becoming pretty good at baseball when I was young. When I was around 8 or 9, my dad and my mom told me that I started playing softball, and my dad and mom told me that I should move into hardball. And so I did that, and then started to excel in hardball, and started making rep teams and AAA teams and stuff like that. Right up until I got to a point of baseball really defines me. You're gonna see this pretty soon here. Right up to the point where I started getting some looks and some interest from professional teams.
What position did you play?
I was an outfielder and a pitcher. So I started in the outfield, and I played on the provincial team, the Nova Scotia Youth Selects team, and I played on the Canada Games team back in 2005.
Regina,
baby.
I was there for tennis.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Wow. So we definitely saw you.
Yeah, we would have at some point.
Did you jump around all the different places, like, to try to see the other sports while you were up there?
Not really. We were pretty... we stayed together for the most part. I remember getting on the bus to go somewhere, but I don't remember what we were going to see
Okay.
at that time.
It's all blank.
You might have been going to the dance.
I remember the Much Music Video dance party, honestly. Come on.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, so I was in Regina in 2005. We didn't place that well. Nova Scotia baseball teams never really placed that great. There's been a few, I think, in more recent times that have placed better in Canada Games and in the national tournaments. But at the end of the day, we sort of have a small population, right? So there's not as much to choose from when you're looking at Quebec and Ontario and British Columbia.
Yeah.
So I played Canada Games, and then started talking to some major league scouts and my coaches and that sort of thing, and they suggested that I should go away to school and further develop my skills, and ended up going to the Prairie Baseball Academy. Shout out Prairie Baseball Academy. Shout out Prairie Baseball Academy. Shout out PBA. Went up to the Prairie Baseball Academy, and I was there for 3 years and played baseball out there. So that's a junior college program that travels and plays other junior college programs down throughout the United States, and they also have their own Canadian league. This is weird to talk about because I haven't talked about it for like, I feel like 8 or 9 years now. But they have their own Canadian league, and it was really, really competitive baseball. And then in the summertime, there was a semi-pro league called the Western Major Baseball League that I played in for a couple years. And so I went from Alberta, got my initial diploma in Alberta, and then transferred down to North Carolina and played NCAA at the University of Mount Olive. And finished my baseball career down there.
How old were you at that point?
I finished when I was in college for 5 years, so I finished when I was 23.
And how old are you now?
I am 32.
Okay. It's a lot of math. That's back 2010, 9 years ago.
2010, baby.
I was doing a bunch of different maths at once.
I know, good job.
Isn't math universal? There's just one math, isn't there?
Yeah, but I was subtracting his age and subtracting the age
addition in there.
of the years.
Multiplication.
Right.
Basic arithmetic, but it was mental math.
Right. Basic mathematics. So went from University of Mount Olive and got into sales right away when I was out of school. And I actually started selling memberships at Good Life Fitness. And
Salesman.
They were just sales guy, and so they were just it was basically, I treated it as an internship. It was a real job, but I treated it as an internship because I needed some hours to finish my degree, and I wanted to get paid. So It was kind of a funny story how I got that job though, because I was really like, I guess it was a sports mentality, but I was really willing to do whatever it took to find an internship that I was going to get paid, and find an internship that sort of related to what I was doing in school. I got my general studies diploma out in Lethbridge, basically focused in business. And then I went down to North Carolina, and they said, you don't have any credits to be able to get into our business administration program. So you have criminal justice to choose from, or you have recreation to choose from. So I was like, oh, okay, well, don't need criminal justice for any reason. So I'm going to go into recreation. So to finish the degree, there was basically an internship program that you had to go work and actually do the jobs that were related to that degree. So I kind of sold to my professor that selling gym memberships was like recreation.
Yeah,
So I was like, well,
you're outside.
Yeah, I was like, I'll be outside, and like, I don't know, people are active, and that's part of recreation. So like, it works.
It's in the definition.
Right? So they let me do it. And so I sold gym memberships at Good Life Fitness, and things started going really well.
Is that commission-based?
Commission-based. It was like $12 an hour, I think, plus commissions.
Okay, so they did motivate you to hustle those memberships.
Definitely.
Beyond the $12 an hour.
Yeah. Like Good Life, honestly, we can shout out all the people.
Shout out Good
Shout
Life.
out Good Life. Are we going to shout out everyone who works there? Or
No.
Shout out
Definitely
Kelly.
not. Yeah, what up? But yeah, Good Life was actually, you know what? Good Life was, I still say to today, I think that Good Life gave you a real hustler's sort of mindset, because you had to go out there and you could earn as much money pretty much as you wanted to, or that I thought so at the time. If you just hustle and you sell gym memberships. And selling gym memberships was one of those things that, like, you really had to sell, like, that you care about people and the relationship thing, and sell the dream of being fit and all the good stuff. And it was a really great training program, and I still say it's almost one of the best training programs that I've taken. And I've taken different sales programs since, and it's because it was really like based on caring, like showing people that you truly care about them. And I really took that to heart. So I think that that's why it sort of helped. I had some success there, was because I was just like, you know what, if I actually care about people and show them that I care about them, then they'll probably buy a membership.
Is that something you can fake? Can you just make it seem like you really
Can you
care?
fake caring?
You know
What
what?
if you don't actually care?
You know what? I think at the end of the day, like, I think that you can fake. There's only a certain level of fake it till you make it. I think that you can fake anything to an extent, and you can pretend to care. Were was the work environment the best thing in the world? Maybe not. They did have a really great corporate culture, but like, is that where I saw myself going and being for the rest of my life? Not really. Right? Like, I'm a really ambitious person, and back then I was really, really ambitious. Like, I was there for less than 6 months, and I wanted to be the general manager of the club. Like, I was just like, yo, like, if I can't be the general manager, I'm out. And they're like, well, Ryan, you've been here for like 4.5 months.
Started, what?
Yeah. You've been here for like 4.5 months. You can't like just manage like the whole club. So I was just like, I was just there hustling, learning how to do sales and all that good stuff. And and then just wanted to keep going up and up and moving on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool that you saw it as a stepping stone more than anything. You're like, I can learn all I need to know about this particular environment with the sales environment and utilize that in going forward. So what kind of came next for you?
1,000,000%. So I use that as a stepping stone. And I'm the type of person that I sort of reverse engineer things. And I'm like, there's other people out there that are making more money than me, that are driving nicer cars than I am. At that time, I think I had bought my first car. It was my 2010 Cobalt with 2 doors and no air conditioning. And I was sweating every day going back and forth to work. And I'm like, there has to be something better. Like, this isn't where I'm just going to stay. And so I honestly did. I told them that I wanted to be a GM, and they are obviously like, well, you have to be here for a little bit longer than, that period of time. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to move on then. And so I started my process of trying to figure out what was next for me. getting into sales, I started to understand like the different levels of sales, like where there was a little bit more money, where there was a little bit more, excitement. So I heard about business to business sales. I was like, okay, B2B. And so I was like, okay, business to business sales. They give you a gas card. They give you a car allowance. You can work from home. You can essentially be your own boss under somebody else's umbrella.
You get to travel.
You get to travel, right? Like I'm young, so I'm like, okay, like I can travel a little bit. And so I heard about a, what do they call them? A career fair. And it was going on at the Kennard Center. But at this time, it was for the universities like that were around here, I think. And so I heard about it and I was like, well, there's probably going to be people that are hiring there. So I'm just going to go figure it out. So I just showed up and they were like, so what school are you with? I was like, I don't have my ID. And they were like, okay, well, just write your name down on this and just go in. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I just walked around the career fair until I found something that like looked interesting to me. And I came upon Xerox. And I was like, Xerox. I was like, okay. So I'd be selling copiers. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of cool. Like, I'm going to go talk to these people. So I went and talked to them and I made myself feel like I was really important. I already had this job and, I'm just sort of browsing just because, I just want to keep my options out there.
And fake it till you make it.
And, just see what's going on, right? So I talked to whoever was standing there at the time and I was just like, yeah, so, what's your remuneration like?
There's a word.
Yeah, I was like, I think that's a word. And so they were like, well, it's it's a good base salary and it's plus commission. I was like, oh, you get a base salary, it's not an hourly wage. So we're like, no, it's a base salary and you get plus commission. So at this time I was like working at Good Life and I was like, oh well, I'm only getting an hourly wage. A base salary is that's consistent and that's good, so we're good to go. Long story short, I went for an interview, got hired for the job, and found out after I started, I was like, so like, do I get to work from home or like, do we actually get to like, do we get a car allowance or gas card or anything like that? I just knew that there was a base salary and then it was plus commissions, and I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
I'll just do whatever. That's cool. It's better than what I'm doing right now. And they were like, no, like you work on a team, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, so you work on a team. Like, where? And they were like, upstairs. And I was like, what are you talking about? They were like, this is inside sales. And I was like, so what's that? And they were like, you call people and you sell to them over the phone, or you support the outside sales reps that are out on the street making calls and seeing customers face to face.
Put that headset on.
I just sank into my chair. I was like, what's happening? Where am I? I just chased this job that I thought was like this salaried position that I was going to be super excited about and brag about and tell people, I got my business to business job. I'm really making it in the world.
Telemarketing.
Man. So they had a couple different teams where you'd support a rep or you would do the telemarketing sort of thing.
Yeah.
But one good thing, again, everything sort of seemed to be a stepping stone, because one good thing that did come out of it is that people say that Xerox has one of the best sales training programs, period. So you sit in the classroom, I think it's for like almost 6 weeks before you actually get to hit a phone and actually decide that you're going to sell or actually try and sell. So you just sit there in training, and they train you as if you were an outside sales representative, but you're inside sales. So you get the training of an outside sales representative, and you get the feel for it and exactly what it is. But you just go and you sit on the phone.
Right.
Yeah. So from there, I lasted about 18 months and put my name back in the pile with a recruiter. And basically just said, I need to be outside. Like, I'm too personable to be inside. Like, I need to shake hands and I need to smile and
get me out of this cage.
For everyone listening right now, this is exactly what anyone was getting for those 18 months. They're just getting your voice. So you have a very personal
I would have bought all the copiers.
You would have bought all the copies?
Wasn't that a rich, smooth voice? But what people can't see is this smile.
Right?
Oh my gosh, you look amazing.
Sid's falling in love right now.
So I was just like, I need to be out in the world shaking hands and kissing babies and that sort of thing. So I put my name in with a recruiter and ended up getting hired with a local copier dealer and doing outside sales with them. And again, just wanted to keep climbing the ladder. What's next? As I graduated into a different position, I learned what the next step was for a sales rep that would get paid more, that would have more flexibility, that would, have more benefits, have more things paid for you. That might be, I can work from home actually. Like, I don't actually have to come to an office. Now I do have a home office. Like, every single step that I took, it was sort of like, oh, there's something else? Like, there's something after this? So
Incentive.
Yeah, so stayed and did copiers for a while. Again, did well, which then I started hearing about medical sales and dental and veterinary sales and pharmaceutical sales and all of those. And just hearing that they were the top of the heap. Like, you get one of those jobs, like, people keep them for a long time and, they do all the things and they get all the things that I'm talking about. And so I was like, okay, well, I want to be there. And so long story short, ended up getting a referral from a friend to go interview for a dental sales job, and interviewed, and I was in dental sales for the last 7 years up until a month ago.
Wow.
7 years up until a month ago. You just sold a lot.
Slanging dental machines for 7 years. Wow. My uncle, actually I should know specifically, but he does the same thing. I don't think it's dental. I think it's hospital equipment.
There you go.
Shout out to Mark's uncle who does something with teeth or
medical
hospital medical equipment. Yeah,
hips.
Yeah, he goes to like New Brunswick, Newfoundland, and
Yep.
I think he's the Atlantic Canada representative.
Yeah, a lot of those jobs are no longer like just Nova Scotia. Once you get into a medical job or a dental job or pharmaceutical, whatever, you start getting into expanding territories and bigger territories.
Yeah.
So my territory was Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. When I first started, it was all of Atlantic Canada. Then as I graduated, I actually moved companies one time. And then when I graduated into a different position, I say graduated, but I really just left the company I was with and went to another job again. So whatever.
Loose definition.
Let's just be real here. Chasing that buck, right? So got recruited from another dental company to come over, and then I sort of honed in my territory a little bit, and then just started focusing on Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and a little bit of Cape Breton.
Okay.
Yeah. So those were those jobs.
Here you are.
And here I am.
Oh gosh. Okay, flash forward 7 years dental sales. It's over.
It's over, baby.
And you quit?
It's over, baby.
You quit?
Yeah, I quit.
Surely you had other stuff on the go to lead to this abrupt 7 year later quit.
Yes.
Are you between jobs? What's going on? You just quit?
Yeah. So
Do you need somewhere to stay tonight?
For those of you who don't know, if you skipped through the intro, if you hit that 15-second or 30-second skip through the intro,
I have to work on an intro.
I'm now a professional photographer full-time, and I am a co-founder of a company called Atlantic Livestream, and I've been a professional photographer. I started photography about 5 years ago, so probably only a couple years into my dental sales job. And it has just continued to grow and pick up and pick up and pick up. And then for the last about year and a half, I became a co-owner of Atlantic Livestream. And so between the two of them, they were affording me enough opportunities and gigs that I was able to. I say allowed to. Yeah, my wife is going to be like, yeah, you're right.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Good.
So that I finally decided that it was time to go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm wondering, someone such as yourself, like me, I grew up playing sports, and that was a lot of what defined me. How did you get into photography?
You know what? It's crazy. Not even the story. It just blows my mind that because a lot of the time, and this is something I talk about with my friends and family and different things all the time, is that people want to put you in a box, right? So you have something that defines you, and people see you as that one thing, and then they don't necessarily let you branch out, or they criticize you, or they ask you why, or they don't think that you can do it, or they don't trust in you, or they don't believe in you. And a lot of the time, it's people that are closest to you that are sort of holding you back, and you don't let anybody hold you back that you don't respect or that you don't respect their opinion, right? So you look to your friends and family and you say, listen, yeah, like I'm taking pictures now, or I'm doing this thing that I wasn't doing before. And they say, why? Like, or like, okay, cool. But like, keep your job.
Yeah.
You know, like,
That's a side
or like,
hustle, right?
or like you're getting pretty good now, but like, that's risky. Right? Like you should probably stay where you're at. So honestly, like I people have been asking me this since I've been, I think more so since I've been full time, asking me how I got into photography.
How did you get into photography?
Thank you, Sid, for asking. I will. Thanks for asking.
Right.
I started taking. I almost attribute it, and this is gonna sound crazy again. I almost attribute it to Instagram a little bit. Like partially, like I remember buying nice like I almost contributed to Instagram and like maybe like iPhones and that sort of thing, being able to take nicer pictures more conveniently. I started like I bought a couple cameras like when I was younger, but nothing really noteworthy, nothing to write home about. But then when Instagram came, I remember specifically getting on Instagram and having like arguments with my friends who was taking the better photo, and like having arguments with my friends like who had the better filter, and like why my photo looked better than yours, and like just competing back and forth.
Yeah.
And then like as Instagram started to evolve as a platform, I started to follow people, and I started to be like, ooh, like I want my pictures to look like that. So I would look at, you know, what I would see on Instagram, and then I would go to Best Buy or Future Shop, I think it might have been at the time, and I would show them my phone. I'd be like, I want to take better pictures, and I want my pictures to look like this. And they would say, okay, well, this is the lens you need, and this is the camera you need. So I picked up my first camera, and then, you know, I picked up, I think it was a 50 millimeter lens, the portrait lens in quotations. And I was like, I really want my backgrounds to be like blurry. And they were like, okay, cool. Like, pick up this portrait lens with this 1.8 aperture. Had no idea what that meant at the time. And you'll have blurry backgrounds. And I was like, okay, cool. So I picked that up and I started using it, and started to get a little bit better. But then I was like, wow, everything's like, I wanted to take pictures at all times of the day because I had a new camera and I was really excited about it. And so I started taking pictures, but like all my pictures were like pink or like orange or whatever. And I was like, went back to the camera store and I was like, or Future Shop, not even the camera store, the guy in the camera department at Future Shop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so like all my pictures are blurry, not blurry, orange or pink now. Like they're like kind of sharp, I guess. I didn't really know what that meant. They're in focus, but like, why is everything orange? And they're like, well, you need a flash. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Give me the flash, please.
What?
Yeah, give me the flash. And so I chucked the flash on the top of my camera and then started practicing like on my friends, and then started practicing like on my parents, and then showing them the back of my camera and being like, look, this is before flash, this is after flash. Like, how awesome is this? And so just sort of graduated from there and just started continuously taking pictures. And like, just like my career in sales, I was in a certain position, and then I was like, okay, like, but I want to be here. Right? So I was like, I'm here now, but I know there's better. So I want to be to the next level.
Yeah.
And so if any time in my life I think that way, I know that there's a change about to happen. And so I was like, all right, who do I think is, one of the best photographers in the city? And at that time it was, shout out Applehead Studios, boys and girls. Yeah, shout out Applehead.
Street.
Yeah, I'm not going to shout out all my competitors now, but but it was like Applehead Studios, and so I started getting a little bit more serious about photography. I had done maybe some family stuff and different things where I had actually like collected an income for and gotten paid, and then I was like, okay, well, I don't really want to shoot weddings, but I know they're wedding photographers and they shoot everything on the day of a wedding, so they'll be able to teach me something. So going to that workshop is probably one of the ways that I started becoming better and wanting to take it more seriously, because I went to their workshop, and I think it was a 2 or 3 day workshop, and I started to recognize that like, these guys are really cool. This is a really cool industry. Still felt like an imposter utterly and completely. Like, I'm not a photographer, but I'm like here just learning. And but it was one of the times where I was like, oh, okay, these people are cool, and it looks like they're actually making some money. Like, So they're taking pictures and they're making money. This is really cool. So like, how do I get my photography skills or my images up to a certain level where I can actually start like charging real money for it? And so again, just continuously trying to improve on my skills. And I took that workshop, and I really took that workshop in and tried to learn from it, and then started doing, YouTube. And there's an online course called Creative Live, where it's one of the biggest online platforms for online education for creatives and entrepreneurs. And so I started taking online courses and just really sort of starting to learn my craft.
Whoa.
What is that? Creative Live?
Creative Live.
I should check that out.
Yeah.
Link in the notes.
I want to just take it back to what you initially said about Instagram and how that's kind of how you figured out that you're like, oh, I'm kind of into this. It seems like you kind of had an undiscovered love for photography.
Yeah, I did. And it just made me happy to take photos.
Yeah.
It was just exciting. Like it was instant gratification, which was nice. Like I was like, cool picture. Like at that time there was no likes because nobody was like, you know what I mean? Like people got likes, but it was
Self-likes.
Yeah, it was
I just painted that myself.
Yeah, but like, you know what I mean? Like you weren't really doing it for the likes because like, you had like 57 followers
and 14
like
likes.
Yeah, and it was like 3 likes or 14 likes. Man, you were popular. I was only getting 3. Holy, you were getting 14. Okay.
But since then you've amassed way more. So
yeah, here and there.
it comes and goes.
Yeah, it comes and goes. Comes in waves. Depends on the algorithm, as they say.
Right.
So it was one of those things where it was like I started taking pictures and I started liking the pictures that I was posting and taking, and I started liking the cool little filters that you could put on it, and I just kept like I say, I kept just competing with my friends and just arguing back and forth, and I just remember being like you're not even using Instagram correctly. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're supposed to have. And this time I worked with a photographer, and he told me that I took a photo that was a diminishing perspective, and it was on the bridge, on the McKay Bridge. And I was like, you don't even know what you're talking about. I just took a photo, and it's a diminishing perspective. I had no idea what that meant, but I knew it was exciting, and I did it, and I did it without trying. And that's what true talent is, being able to do something without working at it and doing it well.
Inventing something that's always existed, but you didn't know, so you invented it.
I didn't know it. Yeah. So I just kept wanting to be better. Yeah.
Now here you are. You're finally better.
Yeah.
Look at you going.
Yeah.
Well.
You took the plunge. Now you felt ready. A month ago you took the plunge. What does that feel like, having a wife and 2 kids? Does that make it harder, or what is the feeling there?
Yeah. So
Shout out to the fam.
yeah, shout out to the fam. Nicole, Noah, London, my wife, my son and my daughter.
Shout out.
Yeah, I have a 3.5-year-old at home, 7-month-old at home, and a wife that works for the federal government. And so some people say, they look at that and they say, shout out Office of the Auditor General.
Shout out pensions.
Shout out pensions. Some people look at that and they say, one person has a stable income at home, so it makes it easier for you to go out and do your own thing. But with me and my family, it was complete opposite. It actually made it way harder, because my wife was like, I want you to have a stable income as well. Like, I want an income that is going to be consistent. I want to, buy a new house, or I want to get a new car. We want to do things. We want to travel. My wife is all about traveling and vacations and different things like that. I'm not. I can travel. I like being new places. Don't like getting there. So for me, it was actually the opposite. So it was her constantly being like, I don't necessarily want to have the instability. Not necessarily. I don't want to have the instability in income, and your hours are all over the place, and you're working 9 to 5 is going to be easier on the family because you're home every night and this and that, right? And at the end of the day, like, yes, I quit a month ago, but I really, to be honest with you, I quit I quit a year ago. I quit a year and a half ago.
Check out.
Yeah. Like, and like it's one of those things where, I did it to the best of my ability as I was still supporting my customers. I was still going out and doing different things, and definitely slowed down towards the end. I could feel that. My company could feel that. My customers could feel that. Everybody could feel that it was getting to a boiling point, and to the point where, when I went and told people and, had the discussion with my employer and everything, like everybody was like, yeah, like we already know that you have another business. Like we get it. Especially with a sales rep position, you don't have to be in the office every day, right? So you can be out doing whatever you want to do. And as long as you're putting up numbers on the board, nobody cares. Yeah. Truly nobody cares, right? So not in terms of an employment standpoint. So as long as you're putting numbers up, you're good to go. So that really afforded me, because I was able to put numbers up, because I had built a strong base, a strong territory, and a strong base of business, that afforded me to be able the opportunity to be able to go out and actually build a side hustle and actually build a business on the side while I was working. So I didn't have to be sitting at a desk and then like trying to like sneak, client calls in on my cell phone. Like I was taking them at home. I was doing shoots, you know what I mean? I was doing whatever I would normally do. And so, yeah, so it allowed me to do that.
Now your side hustle is your main hustle.
So my side hustle is my main. Does that scare
you ever? Are you ever, it's only a month in? You have any concerns?
I'm only a month in, but like, honestly, I've been preparing for it for a while. I have really great friends. I have some really, really great friends that I can lean on for support. And one of my guys says, he's like, Ryan, honestly, yeah, you've been officially no longer with your company for a month, but like you've been preparing for this for a long time. Yeah. And I truly believe that. And my wife knew that, and my mother knew that, and my friends knew that. Everybody knew that. Like nobody.
Even I knew that.
Even you knew that. Yeah, and like there was no real, like I say, surprise in it. But yeah, I have been preparing for it for a while. So
preparation, something we talked about early on.
Yeah, definitely. But again, it's a lot of adjusting, right? So it's like, all right, well, I had a really good month this month for sales in terms of like in my dental sales job. So like maybe I should stay. And then, I'd have a kind of a really good month with my photography business, and I'd be like, no. That was just blinders, like the golden handcuffs they call them, right? Yeah. But in order to actually get to this position, let's just talk about the preparation. You want to ask me about preparation? Yeah, sure.
Can you tell me about preparation?
Yeah, thanks, Sid.
Yeah, how do you get to the point where you're comfortable leaving your regular job to make your side hustle, your main hustle?
So it was, again, I think the biggest shift that needs to happen is mental. I think the mental shift is something that you need to be all in on. I think that you need to be prepared to make a tough decision. You need to be, like everybody talks about, so for me it's, I know it makes sense, and on paper it makes sense, and this is where the planning things, happen. But everybody talks about how you have to be financially stable, and you have to, replace your income. And you need to know that like once you leave that you're going to have enough business booked, and that you're going to blah, 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 blah. Okay. So like a lot of those things for me are excuses. Yeah. Excuses not to jump, and excuses not to make the decision to actually leave. And I had those excuses for a very long time, right up until a month ago, right? Like honestly, like, it was a situation where it was like, I had been mentally checked out to the point where I remember specifically I was at a national sales meeting, and people were getting sales awards up on the stage. And I'm a guy that like, since I'm a sports guy, I'm a guy that like was used to getting accolades growing up, and really fell into that habit of like getting to the point of like, I don't really have to try out for the team anymore because I'm good enough. I know that I'm going to make the team. And so when I got into the professional world with sales in particular, I saw some success really, really early on. And then I got to a point with the company that I was at where people were going up on stage and I wasn't going up on stage. And yes, my sales were good, but they weren't extraordinary. They weren't next level. They weren't like, they were pretty good. They were better than a lot of people, but they weren't like stage worthy. And it was like, for me, I literally remember sitting there and looking up on the stage and watching people that like, I felt like I was, more charismatic than, had more sales knowledge then. People that, were getting awards and I wasn't walking up on the stage. And I remember thinking to myself, because I really try to pride myself on self-awareness, that this must not be the job for me. Like, I'm not passionate enough about this, because when I'm passionate enough about something, I succeed at it.
You're at the top.
Right? And so I succeed at things that I'm most passionate about. And I just remember just thinking that to myself and thinking, I'm going through the motions. I'm doing this for a paycheck because I was getting paid well. Like, the people that were going up on stage some of them were millionaires, right? Like, some of them were basic, like, millionaires or soon to be millionaires or close to millionaires. And I was like, why am I not going up on stage and becoming a millionaire with these people, or, very, very wealthy with these people? And I just had some self-reflection. I was like, because I'm not passionate about it. It's something that's exciting, and, like, it was something that I really felt like I strived to do, and something someplace that I really wanted to get to. But once I got there, I felt like it was a very empty sort of feeling. Like, I was just there and I was just doing the things, and I was just doing the things and doing the things that I needed to do to get paid, but there was no passion behind it, and thus not being on the stage, and thus me knowing that I needed to quit. Thus me knowing that it wasn't going to be the place that I was going to end up, or that I foresaw myself in the future. Because once you get into the medical and dental specifically, they always say once you get into dental, you never get out. You stay there for a very long time and you retire there and this and that. And I saw a bunch of people do that. Yeah. I saw a bunch of people retire. All my coworkers were like, 5 years tenure, 10 years tenure, 40 years tenure, 30. So I was just like, I do not see myself in this position. And right now I'm not walking up on the stage, and I know exactly why. And I said, it's because my passions lie elsewhere. And that was the feeling. And I honestly think that was the moment where I was like, yeah, like, this isn't for me. And then you think, all right, so you self-reflecting, you think, okay, so what is it that you're passionate about? What is it that you're passionate about and you can make money from?
Yeah.
Because those two things are different, right? Like, I can be passionate about playing rec volleyball on Wednesday nights, but I'm not going to make any money about it. I'm so passionate about playing, shout out HSSC, Halifax Sport and Social Club.
Oh, yeah.
You're right.
All sorts of sports.
Yeah, all sorts of sports. So I can be passionate about that, but I'm not going to make any money from it, right? So I'm like, what are the things? Where do my talents lend themselves, and what am I passionate about where I can actually make an income and make a living, so that nobody else can dictate my success but me. Nobody else can dictate my paychecks but me. And where is that at? And so that was naturally, I was like, man, it's coming from the camera. Mm-hmm. I was like, it's coming from the camera. It's coming from me putting a camera to my face and making people smile, making people laugh, making people feel good about themselves. It's coming from picking up a camera and using it and getting paid.
I'm sure everyone who's listening has been checking you out on Instagram throughout, or is about to, but yeah, you can really see that. These look like very candid shots of people smiling and laughing and happy, and just so much going on. You can see the joy. You can see what you are able to bring out from putting that device to your face and connecting it with the world.
Appreciate that, man. I think that it was almost a blend of two worlds in a way. I got to remember earlier on when I was talking about I wanted to be out in front of people and smiling and laughing and joking and shaking hands and kissing babies, while I was literally doing the same thing and then I was taking a picture. Mm-hmm. Right? So I was doing the same thing and then I was taking a picture. And growing up, I always had this this part of me that I was never an artist, right? Like, I liked to doodle. I liked to draw.
Yeah.
I liked art class, just like everybody else liked art class. I did a really cool caricature of Tiger Woods one time in art class, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. But if I bring that full circle, I remember doing my best drawing in art class was of Tiger Woods. It was this caricature. But I was never one to necessarily be able to create something out of my brain. Like, I was never necessarily able to just, like, think of something and draw it. Like, it just turned into a stick figure. Like, I would think of something and it would just turn into a stick figure. But when I saw it, I was able to visualize, okay, well, this is where the shadows go in the face. And this is where the lines go in the portrait. And this is how the eyes should be shaped. and this is how the hat turns, and this is the background, and this is how the character stands out from the background, and this is how the body is shaped, and now this is how this character looks in this environment. And when I put those two things together, that's exactly what I do now. I'm like, okay, so I see you, and I'm like, so what are you doing right now in this environment? And so I capture you in the environment that you're in, and I turn you the way that my mind's eye sees you, so that I feel like you look your best. And then I insert some humor and insert some charisma, and then we have a shoot.
Voila.
Wow. So those medical sales awards that you were missing, I feel like you're getting into doing stuff that can now bring those about in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's not even it's not even about awards. It's more so about fulfillment. It's more so about the fact that I was used to having a certain level of fulfillment by putting my all into something and receiving things out of it. Right? Like putting it all in and receiving things out. I put my effort into my relationship with my wife, I get it back out. I put my relationship into my effort into my relationship with my children, I get it back out. I put it, you know what I mean? So it was like, it's one of those things where I put my passion and my effort in, and I get something back out of it, and it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily accolades.
None of these things are really separate. So now you having this job that gives you fulfillment, whether it makes as much money as sales was or not, how do you feel this impacts your family? How does this new mindset that you have come home with you?
It's happiness. It's about excuse me. It's not. Every time I try to really pride myself in self-awareness. So when I feel cranky now, when I feel not in the best mood now, I have a sense of gratitude at the fact that I say, Ryan, you're a professional photographer for a living. Nothing to be cranky about. Nothing to be mad about. Nothing to be sad about. Like, you know, my wife will ask me to do something like, take out the garbage, and I'm in the middle of editing or something like that. And before I'd be like, I feel like I'd be like, resentful. I'd be like, I'm just trying to get this done. And maybe I still have some of that in me, but now my mindset is more so like, well, this is my business.
Yeah.
I can do what I want. I don't have to rush to get, I have, clients that I have to take care of and all that good stuff. And obviously, you're your own boss, but you obviously have to service your clients and make sure that they're happy. But at the end of the day, like, I'm just like, yeah, I'm good. I can take out the garbage. And it's like, it's a mindset change more so than, just like, foot on the pedal, like, sort of trying to get to where I want to be. It's like more so like, take a step back, man. You have nothing to complain about now. This is what you wanted.
Yeah.
Right? This is what you wanted. You're here. Don't complain. Do the thing.
Yeah. This is what you asked for, and it came back to you. Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a long time coming.
Yeah.
All these little things, all these little shifts slowly every day. I mean, we're talking over a decade journey through this kind of sports to professional life.
Yeah.
These little shifts to get here. And
Yeah.
some people do it real quick. But, I mean, that even is fast, this journey to be a professional photographer making a living from your pictures. So many people would love to be doing that. That is not easy.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that I did, and this is for a shout out to anybody that could potentially be listening here, when I knew coming towards like the last few months, when I was like, all right, I know for a fact I'm going to be done this summer. I was just like, that's my deadline. That was my mindset shift. I was like, I'm going to be done this summer. So what I started to do was I said, okay, there's a lot of people that talk, and there's a lot of people that talk about what they want to do but don't ever do it. And I'm not going to be that person. I'm never going to be the person that's going to talk about being an entrepreneur and not being an entrepreneur. I'm never going to be the person that's talking about how I hate my job and not doing anything about it. Right? And so
That's a big one.
Yeah, and that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
Because you can talk to everybody about this. Like, how are you just going to talk about hating your job, but you're literally doing nothing to change?
Yeah, especially
Right.
a job if you're not proud of it or you don't align with the values of what the company does. that is a choice you need to change, or else you're going to become that job.
But people get into the situation, like I said, the word golden handcuffs, right? People get into the golden handcuffs mindset where they're like, well, now I have that family to support. Now I have these kids. Now I have this and that and this and that, right? But ultimately, like, you have to start taking action. So if you actually want to support your family and you actually want to make a change and get out there, then you need to recognize that, okay, so what's the first step that I'm going to do? So the first thing that I did within the last 6 months was I started getting up at 4:30, between 4:30 and 5 o'clock every day.
PM or no, like
AM, baby.
in the night.
Be past your bedtime right now.
Yeah, so I started getting up between 4:30 and 5 o'clock. Actually, when Sid asked me to do this podcast, it's late.
It's almost 10 p.m. right now.
Not happy.
It was way
I was
past your
not happy. So what that ended up doing for me was I started to learn about myself. I started to learn, how many hours of sleep do I need in order to be productive? Because the first time I got up, and I can't really attribute this to me, because what really I have a 6-month-old baby. So like my baby wakes up, right? So my baby wakes
7 months.
7 months old now, but at that time, 6 months, 4 months, 5 months. So
Just making sure we're talking about the same baby.
So a part of me was like, I'm getting up anyway. So like next time he wakes up, just get up. No matter what time it is, like, as long as it's not 3, like, get up. And so it was 4:30, and I was like, this is my new wake up time. And so it was 4:30. My baby woke up. I was like, Nicole, I'm just going to stay up. She was like, what are you talking about? Just go back to sleep. I was like, no, I'm going to stay up. And so I started getting up between 4:30 and 5 o'clock every day. And I felt like a superhero. I felt like I was better than other people. That's what a superhero is. They're better than regular people, right? So I felt like I was a superhero because I was up, and it felt like nobody else in the world was up. My kids weren't up. My wife wasn't up. I couldn't hear any street traffic. I couldn't hear anything. There was nothing. And so at 4:30 in the morning, I was like, wow. This is incredible. It's like the middle of the night. Even people that go to the bar and get home at 3 o'clock, they're asleep at 4:30. You know what I mean? Like, unless they're pulling all-nighters. So it was like, for me, I was like, this is a time, and you hear a lot about the 5 o'clock club, the 5 a.m. club with different rich people and successful people and this and that. But it's always hearsay until you actually do it. It's like, but like, I'm a night owl, right? So I started to learn myself. So I recognized that I only need 6.5 hours of sleep in order to be a functioning human being for the rest of the day. But, that means I'm getting a little bit tired around supper time, and, I got to eat and that sort of thing. But then I can get my boost up until 9 or 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night. And making that mindset shift and actually physically deciding that I was going to get up in the morning changed my life, because all of a sudden I'm getting work that I have to edit. I'm getting that out the door earlier. I'm putting emails in people's inboxes right away. I'm now able to schedule appointments for 8 o'clock in the morning because I've been up for 3.5 hours. I'm scheduling appointments for sunrise shoots at 7:30. I'm doing all of the things I need to do that I'm usually rushing to do throughout the day, or at supper time when we need to be with our children and spending time with our children. And I'm trying to do these things. I'm running up and down the stairs. And then another thing is that, like, it also, it helps with your relationship with your significant other. You get up, and I'm a guy that likes to shower. and yes, Nicole, if you're listening to this, you know that I take 45 minutes in the shower. And yes, I'm a boy. I understand that.
Nothing wrong with that.
And I understand that you don't think that I should be taking that amount of time, but I do.
He's a stinky guy.
It's therapeutic.
It's a therapeutic thing. It's a therapeutic thing,
Absolutely.
right? So for me, it's like
deep thinking.
Yeah, like I get thoughts done. I have thoughts, and some people sit on the toilet. You get in the shower and you get with your thoughts.
Shower thoughts,
man. Oh man, can I start a podcast called Shower Thoughts?
That'd be a great one.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it may already exist.
Hook the mic up right next to the shower.
Right?
Hey guys, just came up with another one.
Hey. So I got up. I was showered and dressed. I remember the first week I was making supper. in the mornings. Like my wife would come downstairs and like a pot of spaghetti would be made. And I'd be like, I have so much time.
Just kidding. Huh?
Make it
But
spaghetti.
that's amazing. So by the time that your wife gets up and your kids are up, for me, if I'm getting up at the same time as everyone else, I am not a morning person, and I'm thinking about all the stuff I need to be getting done.
hectic.
You're done. You've cleared your inbox potentially, done some of that morning stuff, done some of that editing. That stress is gone.
Yes.
The lasagna's in the oven.
Yes.
Hey, Nicole, how's it going?
Yes.
I'm pretty much done my day. Let me be here for you. Is that?
Yeah. 100%.
Oh my gosh.
100%. And it was the best feeling. Honestly, it was the best feeling in the world. Then I got preachy. I started talking to my friends. I'm like, you got to get up at 4. You got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. They're like, why don't you get up a little bit later? I'm like, because I don't have enough time before my kids get up. That's why. It's like, I'm super stoked and super excited to get up at that time of the day. And honestly, as soon as I started doing that, I was like, I'm going to become an entrepreneur real quick.
Look at all this time.
Real quick doing this, because now I'm banging out things that I wasn't able to bang out before. Now I'm organizing my schedule a little bit better so that I'm not missing things. I'm feeling hyper focused and a little bit more, a little bit more alert and a little bit more aware. And, things are popping off. So that was probably one of, if not the biggest decision I made.
Yeah,
before
you talk about all these little micro adjustments. I mean, that was obviously a really big one, but just came to you in the way of, hey, I'm already up. Might as well stay up. Because
Yeah.
for a lot of people,
Get some
the idea of
shit done.
forcing themselves to stay up at 4 a.m. I mean, we've all heard it from all the entrepreneurs who are saying stuff in our Facebook ads.
Well, I recognize that the most productive time for myself, and I think this is different for everyone, but I think the majority of the population, including myself, doesn't give it a chance. Like, doesn't actually give waking up early a chance, because they think that it's going to be too tough. They think that it's going to be too hard. They make excuses as to why they shouldn't get up that early, because they're going to be crankier in the day and they're going to do this and they're going to do that, but they never actually take action. And that goes back to the fact of the people that don't like their job and they say that they're going to be an entrepreneur, don't like their boss, say that they want to quit, or don't like, but they never actually take a step or never take any action to do anything about it. And so for me, it's like, there's a lot of people out there that call themselves night owls that are going to be more clear and going to have a lot more productivity in the morning than they would if they're staying up between 12 and 3.
Still the night.
Take action now, today, now, do it. Listen,
just a
I
little
think these
bit at a
podcasts
time.
gonna have to go on repeat for some people.
Even today, I was talking
That's the
to
action.
Sid about I gotta finish the fucking business plan for the podcast business bullshit.
Wake up at 4:30.
And he was like, just do a half hour a day on it.
No,
That's
I said
it.
an hour. I said
or an hour a day.
every morning.
Every
Get an hour
morning.
done in the morning.
'Cause I had-
well, you have all the productive juices in you, and some people are productive at 4 a.m. because they stayed up that late. Some people really are those night owls, but yeah, most people in the morning have that energy to give to something.
Yeah.
1 hour a day, you'll be done in a week.
I just remember studying in high school for like exams, and I remember like studying the night before and just failing tests.
Always cram.
And then like in the morning you cram, but I remember retaining the most information in the morning, and I'm like, this is the most
a good point.
success that I've had was in on my tests in high school. I woke up early in the morning. I would get to school early. I would cram in quotation marks, but then I would do well on the test. But then I would remember everything. So again, go back to the self-awareness thing, right? Like, when are you most productive? When are you going to be the most successful? When are you the most clear? When are you the most, right? Yeah. And so if you actually think about those things, if you take time to actually think about those things, that's when I think you're going to be able to make a step and become more successful in whatever it is you want to do. I can think about when I was playing baseball. I never got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. But like, if I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning when I was in university and playing baseball, things probably would have been different for me, because I would have had that extra time to go. Like, I literally didn't have any responsibilities other than school and baseball. Like, I had nothing else to think about. I didn't have a wife and I didn't have children. But if I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and my first class, I always remember just setting my class schedule so that the first class didn't start till 11, and then I only put 2 on a Tuesday so that I could have a long day, right? Like, but if I got up at 5 o'clock and I had from 5 until 10, I'd be able to lift that day in the morning. I would be able to get my assignments done, my homework done, think about conquering the world.
You'd be in some bullpen right now.
Right? Honestly, I don't know. Maybe I would be.
But this is your journey, so
It is, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
It all worked out.
I wouldn't change it for the world.
Amazing. Now look at you. Here you are. First time as a podcast guest. I'm pretty sure the next time that you're going to be on a podcast is Coffee with Ryan.
Man,
that's what's next.
Showers with Ryan.
Showers with Ryan.
Coffee and shower. Why
Is
not?
that awkward?
He'll be wearing those golden handcuffs.
It's only awkward if you make it.
Picturing with the golden handcuffs.
Now you're picturing a new Airbnb idea.
Oh yeah, Showers with Ryan. Airbnb experience.
That's awesome. Well, before we get out of here, Ryan, anything you got on the go right now or in the future exciting that you want to mention?
Thanks. I just, for me, I just became a full-time entrepreneur, but I've been an entrepreneur for a while. I don't know if this was a motivational portion of the segment, but, I just think taking action, taking small steps towards what you want to do, and then ultimately having a mind shift change, and following through with it, and not just thinking about doing things, but actually tangibly doing something to change, I think is the most important thing. If you have any entrepreneurs out there or want to be entrepreneurs out there, I think just literally thinking, okay, what can I do tomorrow? Like, can I get up at 5 or can I stay up until 12? Or what are you doing in the hours between 5 and, 12 o'clock at night or whatever to actually make a change in your life? I think that that's one thing that you need to do. I am a professional photographer. I don't have imposter syndrome anymore. I know that I can take nice photos.
Did you for a bit?
I did. I had crazy imposter syndrome, because I was an athlete. Back to what we were talking about before. If we never really brought it full circle, here it is. People thought I was an athlete. I had friends being like, how all of a sudden are you taking pictures and getting paid for it and calling yourself a photographer? And I'm like, because I'm getting paid for it. Like when I do something that's, I'm now receiving monetary value from it, you're now that.
You are a professional.
You are that. And there's
between athletes and professional athletes.
Yeah,
you're just getting paid for it.
That's right. You're getting paid for it, right? And I mean, there's different levels of different things that truly, truly make you a professional in whatever it is that you want to do. But ultimately, I had crazy imposter syndrome because I literally played baseball, man, since I was, 4 years old, but nobody questioned when I wanted to play volleyball. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Nobody was like, oh, you want to be a volleyball player now? It's like, yeah, I want to play volleyball because I'm an athlete, you know? I guess if I was making sculptures and then I became a photographer, people would be like, oh, natural progression. So artsy. Natural progression. So just because it was a completely different genre, I definitely had lots of feeling of self-doubt, and I still obviously get those feelings now, but I get them in ways of, am I producing the best work for my clients? Am I producing the best work that I can possibly produce? And if you don't know what you don't know, right? So you got to continuously be learning. But for me, it's like if I get to a point with an assignment or a project or a photograph or a series of photographs or a wedding or this or that, and I'm like, this is it. This is where my skill level stops. This is the best I can do today. Right? Before, it's literally going to take me learning a new tool or a new technique or something or this or that. I know that I've given it my all. I've given it my best try, and I ship it. And I get it out the door, and I can only hope that my clients are going to be happy with it. But it's becoming more and more that I don't get the oh, can you adjust this or can you adjust that? It's more so, oh, these are great. And I do find that I'm getting to the point now where it's like I'm a step ahead or a couple steps ahead of my clients in what their wants are and what their needs are. And so when I'm taking photographs, I think of things that they're not necessarily thinking about, or sometimes I worry about the little details that they never even thought about before. And it's something that I really pride myself in these days, is to being a couple steps ahead of my client and where they're at and what they're thinking, but definitely listening and being open and taking feedback to continuously get better. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, That is great. That's a great place to leave it. I mean, you guys take action now.
Wake up at 4:30.
Do something.
AM.
Anything. Just
AM,
do one
not
of the
PM.
things that Ryan mentioned. Just one of them today, and then again tomorrow. You're
start
golden.
small.
That's all you got to do.
It gets easier. You add another thing, every week or something like that. I find it's the older we get, the harder it is to convince ourselves that we can learn new things. Like growing up, you're like, well, of course I'm going to try this or try that. And you initially sucked at it, but you kept doing it and you got better. And I think we get into our 20s and our 30s and life gets ahead of you and you feel like whether you don't have time to learn a new task.
It's opinions. It's opinions, man. It's opinions. You listen to everybody else, what everybody else thinks. Yeah. Literally, your girlfriends and your boyfriends and your moms and your dads and your sisters and your grandparents, you listen to what people think, and you literally need to shut it off. You need to know your skills and abilities. It's about, again, self-awareness. Yeah. Know your skills, know your abilities. Where have you thrived in the past, and how is that going to allow you to thrive in the future? Right? For me, it was my passion. I know when I'm passionate about something, I will do whatever it takes to make it work. Whatever it takes to make it work. And so, although I had lots of opinions, and though I have lots of people that, because, how much of the population is professional photographers, right? Or business owners or whatever. It's not a huge segment of the population. A lot of people work the 9 to 5, right? So for me, it was just about, you can't listen. You got to shut off other people's opinions and what other people's thoughts are, and just listen to your inner voice and listen to yourself, and just know yourself.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to add there, Sid?
Yeah, I want to know, where can we see these photos? Where can we find you, Ryan? How do we learn more?
You can find me at ryanwilliamsphotography.ca. My other business I never chatted too much about, but we'll save that for another podcast, is Atlantic Livestream. Really cool business. Quickly, we live stream conferences and events and live shows. We do multi-camera recording and broadcasting to any social media platform, and it is amazing. That was, and to be honest, I can't attribute the photography thing completely to the fact that I've been able to become an entrepreneur. I do receive an income from Atlantic Livestream as well, so that is an extra boost to say, I can clearly cover that income that I was missing with the two things combined. So even still, I still have two businesses outside of the business that I had, the book of business that I had. So I was still running two companies anyway. And again, with Atlantic Livestream, I could not do it without my two business partners. They are instrumental in the success of that business. Because I'm a sales guy, I run more so the business development. And Nathan and Mike, shout out Nathan and Mike.
Shout out Nathan and Mike.
Yeah, Mike Hall.
You guys are great.
Those guys are absolutely incredible. Couldn't run the business without them. They do all the day-to-day stuff, all the operation stuff, all the scheduling and the posting and all of the things to make the actual event happen. If one of them are sick, I can't do it myself. I cannot do it myself. So I'm more the relationship guy, more business development guy, but yeah, I get an income from that as well. So Ryan at AtlanticLivestream.ca. I am Ryan Williams. I've been practicing this for a while for my own podcast on all social media channels. And Instagram, I am Ryan Williams.
Ryan Williams, follow him. You guys check out Ryan. Reach out to him. I feel like he sounds like the kind of guy that would email you back. Sounds like he wants to chat.
Well, he gets up early to respond. Yeah. So.
Slide into my DMs. Slide on it. But don't be weird, though.
No. Yeah. No. Awesome. All right. Well, for a brand new view, I'm Mark Boudreau.
I'm Sid Kazatsky.
See you next week, folks.
I was the same old me with the same old blues, with the same old blues, with the same old blues. I was the same old me with the same old blues. I was the same old